Today we're going to look at the pre-lab for the determination of the chloride ion concentration in sports drinks. We're going to have a little introduction to electrolytes or review, because we've talked a lot about electrolytes before. And then we'll go through the pre-lab discussion. We'll discuss how to use the burette correctly, watch a few videos, and then you'll watch another video of an actual titration. So athletes drink water, they drink sports drinks, because we're trying to keep our electrolytes balanced. And so there's many different electrons. Electrons are ions that are dissolved in solution in your body. Remember, electrolytes conduct electricity. And there are many important electrolytes. The one we're going to look at is chloride ions. We're going to be determining the amount of chloride ions in 3 different sports drinks today. And so if we look at chloride, it helps regulate fluid in the body and maintain proper blood volume and blood pressure. And so when you're exercising and you sweat, you can lose electrolytes through your sweat. And so you lose electrolytes, you lose water when you're doing a heavy aerobic activity. You're sweating to cool you off, but at the same time, that sweat evaporates from your skin and you have electrolytes being sweat out as well. And so a key part of maintaining your electrolyte balance is proper hydration. You can drink too much water, or you can drink not enough water. So you can be dehydrated if you don't drink enough, and you can be hyperhydrated if you drink too much. So just think about making a Kool-Aid solution. If you make the Kool-Aid solution with too much powder and very little water, it'll be too strong. If you put too much water and make a dilute solution, it's not going to taste good either. Hyponatremia is when you drink too much water and you remove your electrolytes that are in your body. And hypernatremia is when you have a great deal of water loss and you have too much sodium or other ions in your blood. So it's important to balance electrolytes. Not everybody can balance them the same way. We all have different sweat rates. Some of us sweat more than others. Some of us are more salty sweaters. So it just depends on how much water and electrolyte supplements you need during your run or during your vigorous aerobic exercise. And that is different for every individual. So you should have this lab handout. What we're going to do is 2 titrations. The first titration will be of a standard salt solution, so you practice doing the titration. And then the second titration will be of your assigned sports drink, and we'll share our data as a class so that we have multiple trials. Everybody in the group will have an opportunity to do one of the titrations and use the burette. And so there should be a burette sitting on the desk, and we're going to draw it and explain how it's set up. So you have a stir station, you have a clamp holding your burette above a flask. And I'm going to extend out my stir station just a little bit. I made my burette too big. So in my burette, this is the burette, we will put 0.10 molar silver nitrate solution. We know the concentration of that silver nitrate solution. In the flask, for titration 1, we'll do a standard sodium chloride solution. And for titration 2, you'll titrate your assigned sports drink. And for both titrations, you will have your indicator in there. And a magnetic stir. Now, it's important that we correctly read the burettes. You read it from the bottom of the meniscus. So if I'm reading this one, it is at the it's not on 0. It's at there's a 0.1, and then it's between the 0.1 and the 0.2. So this would be 0.15 milliliters initially. And then here I know I have 24. And then I read that's 0.5, 0.6, 0.7. It's between the 0.7 and 0.8, so it's 24.75. So you read from the bottom of the meniscus. And you record 2 digits to the right of the decimal point. Okay, so then we're going to subtract your final, this should be milliliters, your final volume minus your initial volume. And so the total volume used would be 24.60 milliliters. And you won't have to refill the burette every time. As long as you have, it'll say in your lab handout what you have to have, a minimum of 20 milliliters before you start each titration. But when you do fill it, you fill it with a funnel. So the source of the chloride ions in the sports drinks is a group 1 metal, such as sodium chloride or potassium chloride. And we're going to write it as MCl because we don't know exactly what metal it is. And silver nitrate is our titrant, and the sports drink will be the analyte. So what I want you to do now is I want you to write the balanced chemical equation between silver nitrate and the metal chloride. It's a double displacement reaction. So you're going to write, I want you to take a minute and determine the products of this reaction, this double displacement reaction. You will need your periodic table so you can identify states of matter. If we could pause the video for a few minutes while you write your balanced chemical equation. So it's a double displacement reaction, so the metals will switch places. So we would get a metal nitrate and silver chloride. If you check your solubility rules, nitrates are always soluble, so it's aqueous, and silver chloride is insoluble. It'll form a precipitant. So what I want you to do now is draw your particle diagram of this reaction. I will draw the silver nitrate. I want you to remember that the products, one of them is a precipitant that is not going to form ions. It'll be a solid at the bottom of your reaction vessel. So we want 3 silver nitrate and 3 metal chloride ions. So I would have silver nitrate, silver nitrate, and silver nitrate. 3 of them. And for the other reactant, we'd have 3 metal chloride ions. So we're going to pause the video. I want you to fill in your products. I'm not going to go over the correct answers because you should be able to do this. And then now we're going to look at, you will want to read through the rest of this lab handout before tomorrow. Basically, what you're going to do is one person is going to complete titration 1 with the standard sodium chloride solution, following the directions. I will check your endpoint and initial when you get that far. And then titration 2 will be with your assigned sports drink, and you'll do 2 trials of that, and I'll initial for both of those. I made your data tables for this, so you're just going to fill those in, because what I really want you to get out of this lab is using a burette and recording your volumes correctly. So there's all your data tables. And then I have a spreadsheet where we will fill in our volumes, average volume used for each group, and then come up with a class average. I do want to talk about now about burette use. These are very fragile, and we want to handle them with care. So handle the burette with care. Don't if you have to move it up and down, move it up and down slowly. Hold on to it with one of your hands at all times. You can move it up and down when the clamp, so you can read the volume at eye level. When you have to fill the burette, move it down, and then use a funnel and a small beaker to fill it up as well. Now, the burette, when the knob is perpendicular to the nozzle, like this. I need a different color. When the burette or the knob is perpendicular, there's the knob, it's perpendicular to the nozzle, then it is closed. And you're not going to have any of the silver nitrate moving through. When the knob is parallel, like this, then to the nozzle, then you're going to have solution moving through, you're going to have the silver nitrate moving through into the flask. And so there's an incorrect method of adding titrate into the flask, and there's a correct method. I'm going to show you videos of both. The incorrect titration method is just opening it up and letting a stream of silver nitrate flow through. That is incorrect because you're going to add too much titrant. These do not take a lot of titrant. So let's look at the incorrect method. Okay, let me... So you can see the silver nitrate is just flowing through. That is incorrect. And I meant to have this. We'll do it one more time. You can see it's just flowing through there, and that is not what we want when we do our titration. And so the correct method of adding the titrant into the flask is a drop-wise. And you'll see that the knob is not perpendicular. It's kind of at an angle when we do this. We want it drop-wise. You can see there's just drops of the silver nitrate going into the flask. And I will put these videos in the lab folder as well so you can watch them again. And then the last thing we need to talk about is, when do you stop adding the silver nitrate solution to your standard sodium chloride solution, and when do you stop adding it to the sports drink? You stop when you get this first sign of like a reddish brown color, yellowish brown color. And that is uh, when you would stop the titration and stop adding silver nitrate to it. And I will check if it's really, really dark. You'll have to redo and reset up the titration. And if you're not there, you'll just keep adding more. The waste for this, we cannot dump down the drain. It has to be kept and filtered and then disposed of properly. So you will have a specific waste container for all of your waste. The next thing you're going to do is watch a video of an actual titration.